America has a housing shortage. Washington now says it wants more homes built. But a law can streamline a permit, cannot swing a hammer. At the very moment Congress is trying to increase housing supply, immigration policy is shrinking and frightening away a workforce that residential construction now relies on. This is not just an immigration story. It is a labor story. Congress passed the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, a major federal effort to reduce barriers and encourage more construction. That may help, but the problem is bigger than permits. The construction industry already had a significant labor shortage. If the workers are not there, the houses do not get built. Washington is trying to push the accelerator and the brake at the same time. The usual political debate is too simple. Republicans say immigrants took jobs from Americans. Democrats often answer that immigrants do work Americans will not do. But those claims cannot both fully explain the same history. The better question is what changed about the job. Americans did construction work when the job provided good pay, benefits, training, and a path into the middle class. In the 1970s, construction was not a job Americans simply refused to do. Union construction jobs paid well. They often came with health insurance, pensions, vacations, and apprenticeship training. A young person with a high school diploma could enter the trades and build a life. That is the part of the story too often left out. The big turn came when builders and business groups challenged union control, especially in residential construction. Non-union subcontractors became more common. Commercial construction remained more unionized, but residential building became a lower-wage, lower-benefit world. That transformation came before the current immigration fight. Employers created the opening, then hired the workforce willing to enter it. Ronald Reagan matters to this history in two ways. He represented a pro-business era that accelerated pressure on unions. At the same time, his administration was more open to immigration than today's Republican Party, including the 1986 immigration law. So the country weakened one pipeline into construction while another pipeline grew. That is how the workforce changed. The modern construction workforce cannot be understood through slogans. Foreign-born workers include naturalized citizens, lawful permanent residents, visa holders, and undocumented workers. But regardless of legal category, the workforce has become essential. In trades such as roofing, drywall, painting, construction labor, and carpentry, home building depends heavily on workers born outside the United States. The idea that deportations will automatically create openings for American-born workers assumes every worker is interchangeable. But construction is sequential. If a foundation crew is missing, framers cannot frame. If framing is delayed, electricians and plumbers are delayed. In that world, removing one group of workers can reduce employment for other workers because the project itself slows down or stops. The new housing law has useful ideas. It can reduce some regulatory barriers and make manufactured housing easier. But it does not, by itself, rebuild the workforce. It does not recreate broad apprenticeships, trade school pipelines, union standards, or wages high enough to make construction attractive again. A housing supply policy without a labor policy is only half a policy. Labor is only one obstacle. The other is financing. Mortgage rates remain elevated, and the 10-year Treasury yield is the long-term benchmark most closely tied to mortgage rate movements. Even if Congress removes some regulatory barriers, builders and buyers still face higher borrowing costs. The result is a housing policy fighting both a workforce shortage and an interest rate wall. A serious housing policy would not pretend that deportations alone can solve the labor problem. It would create lawful, dependable labor pathways. It would rebuild apprenticeships and trade school routes. And it would restore wages, benefits, safety protections, and job stability. If policymakers want American workers back in construction, they have to make construction a good American job again. The bottom line is simple. America did not run out of people willing to build houses. It drove Americans away with lower pay, fewer benefits, weaker training, and less security, and then blamed immigrants for remaining in the industry. If Washington is serious about more housing, it must stop pretending slogans can build homes. Follow the money at wclangdon.substack.com.